welcome back to my channel, The Sarthak Show, where we discuss about tech, career, product, and life. And this is again a new video in our SQL series. So in this video, we'll again continue the create table command, MySQL, and we'll understand on what are the various parameters that you can extend with the column. So with the last lecture, we understand that create table and then various types of columns, and then what are the data types against those columns. But in this, we'll now create another table and we'll introduce more such nuances. So in the last table, I dropped a hint about what are the different parameters that we're going to learn about. So one of them is null and not null. So while creating a table, you can mention that this column can be empty while inserting the values. So let's say table and you want to insert data into that. If you want that this column should never be empty, you can mention not null, which will ensure that while you are entering values, and if you have not mentioned the value against this column, entry doesn't happen and it will throw an error. So something like maybe name of the person is very critical, maybe other information is not, but name of the person might be critical, or maybe for some of the things that you want to do, date of birth is very critical, then you would want that column to be not null. Exactly, right? So that is the hope part that we are going to go. The second thing is in the form of default. So what you can do is, again, certain columns you can mention that there is a default value against that column. What will this make sure is that while you might not have entered any value against that column, it will automatically pick the default value and then make an entry against that. So this ensures that there is a default value against that column for that row. Then the last thing that we are going to understand is auto increment. So let's say we want to create a table and I want to start this by creating just an example. I think this will help us ensure and learn better. So let me create an example. So create table students, create table student. Okay. Let me keep this to this and the thing which will students. Okay. Now what I want to do is that in this student table, I want to again mention name. And before that, I want to mention student ID maybe. Okay. So this ID can be any of any type, right? But I want to give it a unique number, and then I want to use this as a int. Okay. This is the data type that I want to use, right? And by this, I also want to mention that whenever I make an entry, I don't have to remember what was the last number of that student, because it should be a serially, like it should have that value that whenever student is entered into this table, student entry has been made in the table, this should automatically be given to this person and it should auto increment. So what MySQL does is that it gives you a capability where you can auto increment values based on requirement against that column. So whenever there is a new entry made in that column, this will automatically increment the value and take that value, right? So what I will mention is that auto increment. Auto increment. This will ensure that there is there's this column which have auto increment values, and this is int. So whenever there's an entry 5th, then the next entry will automatically be 6th, and then so on and so forth. So folks, I want to give you one very big announcement. Newton School has started with their own full stack development course. They want to introduce more about full stack, and this is the best moment for you. They are going to teach you everything from scratch. You are going to learn everything about full stack development, front end, back end, and databases, and everything from scratch. And the best part of that is it's a zero fee upfront course, so you don't have to pay anything for joining this course and start. And also you are going to learn about projects, different things in this course. You're going to build some very cool, awesome project for your resume, for your everything, for learning part as well. And the last bit is this is going to be very helpful for you guys, is that they are also going to get you placed at startups and MNCs. So they are going to assist you for your placements, for your jobs as well. You are going to get placed at startups, MNCs, and everything. So what's the best deal that you can get? You're going to learn and you're going to get jobs. So you can check out the link in the description box below. It has all the information, all the context, and you can know what they are teaching and what the projects that you will be working on. So stay tuned to that, and please check out the link in the description box below. Okay. Again, now I want name as one of the columns. So let me write name. Again varchar. So what I am keeping a segregation is that everything which is in caps plus small is entity names, while all the caps things are syntax defined in MySQL. I think again for this purpose varchar write 220 comma. What is the next thing? Well, I want to give again date of birth for that. So let me give a date of birth column TOB, which should be of type date. Right, there is no extra value parameters against it. Then again, as I mentioned, there should be gender. I think this is where we want to understand the default value construct, right? So let me take an example of marital status, because this is where you want to understand a real world problem. Let's say you don't know the status of that person right now. It's a married or single or anything else, right? So what I will do is I will mention marital status. Marital status. Varchar, no, enum, mention that it should be married or single. Right, and then there I will introduce another field called not applicable. So this is where we are not sure what is the status of the person. And slightly again, if you notice that I'm mentioning the default, that this should be default value, right? So default, and then what is should be the default value, then space. This is the value in double quotes, NA, right? So what this will ensure that marital status will always be default as NA until specified as single or married. But again, this is also enum column, so there will be not any other value in this particular column. Okay, moving on to the last piece, which is our salary. Not salary students. A student will have, let's say, percentage score, and then that should be decimal. Right, so decimal value, and then right, this is how we want to end the table. Now very particularly I mentioned in the start that I want to create a primary key in this table. Why I want to create primary key? Because that will ensure that every entry in this column can be unique. There could be chances that there are two people with same name, maybe Sarthak, there could be a couple of Sarthak in the same school. There could be a couple of person with the same birth date, interacted with a lot of people with the same birth date, right? Again, marital status cannot be unique, and same as score. There could be two people with, say, let's say 99%, right? So all of these value cannot be very commonly, uniquely identify a person, while an ID can. So I would want to clearly specify a primary key, right? This is how you want to specify a primary key for a column in a table, which is ID for me. And I am also ending this column table and this. So what students already exist. So let me create this again. I'm just going to mention the name as student. What if I just name the team? Let me create students 2. If this allows that. Students 2. Okay. I hope this should. Again, I will write TSC students 2. Students 2. Right. You can see that there is an ID field which is auto increment, which is a primary key, which cannot be null. I have not specifically mentioned it, but since it's a primary key, this is always not null and it's auto increment by nature. This is the extra information that I have inserted. Again, a name, again, these are unique values. But if you see that there's a default value mentioned again this column NA, which is the default value that is going to get inserted. So this is how I want to give you the context about 4 new things, which is auto increment, which is default, which is primary key, and lastly the whole status of this combined into one unique table. So I have shown you these 4 things in this particular video. I hope that you enjoyed this, and we'll now move into the next set of things and the next set of videos. So stay tuned for that. I will also push this code in my GitHub. You can check that out. Till then, take care. I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.